film is fascinating. I just think the story is incredible. And I want to ask you, how long did it take from conception to basically now to create this entire film?
For me, the journey began when I was a child. I've been obsessed with Roman history and with the disaster of Pompeii since I was about 6 or 7 years old. But we actually started making the movie properly about 6 years ago. So it's been a long, long journey. And one of the reasons why it took so long was we wanted to develop a script that I felt happy with. But also there were so many technical challenges in bringing the disaster to life that we had to develop a whole new set of techniques, shooting techniques, to really bring the film to life.
I do want to ask you where the story came from because, of course, it's based on historical facts, but the story is fictional. So where did this whole romantic story come from?
Well, it was very much inspired by the figures of Pompeii. If you go to Pompeii, one of the most famous things, apart from the city itself, are these figures who, when they died, you see how they were frozen in time. And some of the famous figures, probably the most famous, are the lovers, which are these man and a woman who kind of met their death, not running away from the volcano, but kind of intertwined. And you see their love is kind of like it's frozen for all eternity. And that was a big inspiration for me. I'm like, wow, they turned their back on the volcano and they forgot about their death. Their death was coming and they knew they couldn't get away from it. But they kind of died looking into each other's eyes. And that I found very romantic. And that was a big inspiration for the film.
The shot at the end when you're circling around the statues, was that what we would call them now?
Yes.
Was that really the one that you found?
Yeah, I mean, I
was wondering.
Obviously, that's the statue you see in the movie is based on Kit and Emily.
Yes.
But it's very much inspired by some of the real figures that died in Pompeii. And also there are other figures. For example, another famous one is this man who's cowering in terror, which I don't want to give it away for audiences, but that's obviously one of the characters in the film meets his end in that way.
Were there any other statues that you just found so incredibly fascinating?
Yeah, I mean, there's another couple as well, which is the basis for Jared Harris and Carrie-Anne Moss's characters. I mean, that's what I told all of the actors when they finally met their end. I would show them the figures that they were actually based on so that they knew, there was a reality behind. Although it's a fictional character, it was kind of very much inspired by real people out of history.
We should have had the interviews there in Pompeii next to some
Wouldn't that be
statues.
nice?
Why are we here in LA?
Some nice Italian food. It'd be great.
Right off the top, when I was watching this movie, I was thinking, this is a movie. I love these big, epic gladiator films. And as a director, what are you thinking in between takes when you're just looking at your vision right in front of you and it's so tangible?
It was very exciting. And one of the reasons for me it was exciting is we chose not to really film the movie in front of a series of big green screens. I mean, there are visual effects in the film, obviously, but we tried to shoot as much as possible in camera and for real. So we built very, very big sets with hundreds of extras and horses and carriages and animals. And so it was very immersive. I mean, you really felt like you kind of like traveled back in time, which was really fun for me as a filmmaker, but also I think it was great for the actors because they could really, there wasn't that much acting to be done because by the time you've put the costume on and you're in the real world that's been created around you, they found themselves very immersed in it.
Made in Hollywood.